Hey everybody, this is T-Jabs, and we're back with more Replicube. So this time we're gonna get into like the actual challenges, the things that are kind of the meat of the game as I understand it, which I realized I didn't mention, but like in terms of story, most of these are just like coming to you from emails, and you know, we're getting Alice from RetroTech who's saying it was nice to meet us, and wow, you know about Replicube. Here's some challenges I made. I don't really care about the leaderboards. I'm just here to have some fun. So that's kind of where most of the narrative I've seen. Maybe there's more afterwards. The other thing I wanted to mention here before we really got into it, because I neglected to, is the CubeNet community. You have to actually register to CubeNet to be on the leaderboards, and when you do, you can jump on the CubeNet forums. And this is not like a bit. These are real web forum things. You can really do them and talk to them and about them, and people will, you know, respond. Like, this is a whole thing. Like, this is a real dev update. It's cool. It's cool that there's a forum that just exists within the game. Also, most people have like the new player box icon, myself included. Part of the reason that people have the box icon is because you have to progress in the game. I haven't gotten this far, but also because you have to, similar to the cubes, code your own profile picture. So like, people did this with Lua. That's how they made their profile pictures, and that's hilarious and amazing. So let's go ahead and let's jump into the first of Alice's creations. This has felt like not unlike the intro challenges. There's still some things it says, but there's a lot less guidance and a lot more just doing a challenge. But here we just have a slice of cake, of strawberry cake, presumably. And then there's some notes. Return stops the code and returns the value without running the code that comes afterwards. Sometimes that's annoying, sometimes it's useful. And we can just see that, like, you know, we got a little example of that, of like, hey, if you return this 9, then even if we return the 1 later, it doesn't, because the code's already ran here, which I kind of mentioned last time. But we can go ahead and get rid of all this, and we can start anew. So the first thing that's, you know, sticks out to me, and I realize, yes, I've done this before, but I'll go through kind of my problem solutions, and then eventually I want to get through the ones I've done, and then we'll get into like new ones that are novel. But I think it's good to like work through the problem again, and then, you know, hey, sometimes you find something more efficient. So first things first is, again, I want to try and eliminate as many things and do the code quickly on them. So about 2/3 of this whole thing are just empty space. So if and that could be expressed as an absolute value, or even there's a range. So if I said like, if in range z1 oh wait, no, because if I said in range, then I'd be saying this stuff inside, and I want to express the outside. So if I said if absolute value of z is greater than 1, then I just return 0, which is like null. And so if I return 1 after that, just to make sure I have it, then yeah, we get the cake slice. We have the shape of the cake, but we don't have the color. So we've cut everything off successfully. I'm so excited to see that just doing this and just getting this shape is basically right there as far as the best speed I've ever done. So the fact that I have solved this some number of times, trying to go faster, and didn't, you know, it's a whole funny thing, isn't it? But let's see. Let's not worry about that. Let's solve it here in the moment. But I do find it concerning that it seems like the more I attempt to optimize the code, the more I utterly fail. So things that stick out is if y is -3, y equals -3, then we can just return that brown for the bottom, the crust of the cake. All right. So that's there. And then we should be able to, because normally we couldn't say x equals -3 because that would have been there, but since we returned it, if I say if x equals -3 or y equals the top, which is 3, then I can return the frosting. So this is already longer, but now that I have this little C shape, if y is 0, then, whoops, I return the salmon color, which is 4, and then basically everything else can just be return 7. And boom, there's a cake. It is a little bit longer. It didn't turn out as bad as I would have thought. The codes, wow, people did a really big code, and it's about where people hit in cycles. Now, normally at this point, in the future, my goal is to say, okay, we've hit a point in the future, or we've hit this point. I'm gonna try and like see if we can't optimize it here in the moment. Like just thinking about it after we've kind of banged out the shape. Because I've already done this one, we'll look and be embarrassed at what I've done. So the first one, which is the fastest, that's so embarrassing, is, okay, what did I say? We have establishing the bottom. Oh, I said if the absolute value, okay. So if it was basically within this space, you know what? I guess it doesn't matter because the rest of the code would just jump straight to the end because it wouldn't be. Things to think about is that it's actually just, I guess it would be about as fast. If the bottom's the same, okay, establish the frosting. Oh, and then I said if y isn't, then do this thing else return the inside. And I guess that would establish this part more now that I'm thinking on it. Right? Because it's establishing if y isn't 0, fill in this part of the cake, which is more things, so you'd get to it more quickly. But I did this, and I had a couple of thoughts. I was like, what if I did some kind of, different mathematical function? Like, what if I did it in a different order, or nested it differently, and I got like the same thing? And then this is where it went bad for me. I looked at this and I'm like, okay, I'm flipping around parts, but I think I'm kind of 6 or 1/2 dozening this. What I need to do is start finding good mathematical functions that are going to establish these things in as little code as possible, and surely that's faster. So we're at 7.8. The code I just did was 8.3, so about the same. This isn't done. This also isn't done. So this was 10.671. This was much longer, and this was my go hard in the paint attempt to do better. So, let's run through it. Jesus Christ. So I was like, okay, if it's thin enough, if it's within here, what's the first thing I can express? And it was like, oh, I'll do, y, if it's 3, what if I could do these as one bit of code? And I was like, okay, so, here, if I do a space, will it show me the thing? Here, I'm going to submit and then continue editing, so it shows me the grid. So I was like, oh, we have this bottom down here and this bottom up here. What if I could do one line of code that does both of those things as opposed to just saying like do one and then the other, which is what the game clearly wants you to do. So I had this idea of like, okay, if I say if the absolute value of y is 3, so it's looking at both these lines, and I was like, okay, how do I express a single mathematical equation that would make the bottom brown, which is 15, and the top white, which is 1? And the answer I came with was realizing that, hey, these are XY coordinates. It's like math. And then I did a bunch of different things. And first I thought like first I think I thought I was going to do some kind of quadratic equation. That was a nightmare. And then I realized that this could be expressed, as like a rise over a run, right? Like, and I basically created a linear like algebra equation using, I'm so sorry, I'm going to say this. I used the y as an x-axis and the x as a y-axis, and I plotted it out on paper, but basically, to go drop by 15 across 6, you drop by 14 across 6, that's a slope of -7/3, and so I could express this geometrically. And I felt so proud, and I did that. And then I was like, oh, well, if x is less than this, or is greater than -3, maybe I can do a mathematical equation that will get all of these in one. And I think this is where I tried to get like quadratic with it. And I attempted to create a quadratic equation that doesn't solve, because of course it doesn't. But I basically was like, oh, what if I did like a weird distance thing off of this, and came up with, if I take the absolute value of y, square root it, multiply it by 2.1, which was a number I just experimented with by going 1, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and get the ceiling of that and add 4 to it, that it returned all of these things correctly in one mathematical equation. And then for everything else, which is just this last part, return 1. Why did I do that? It's not faster, it's so much bigger. It's the absolute, like, nightmare code. I'm embarrassed to have created this, but also I love it. God bless. I mean, it's one of those, it's bigger in the way this game counts code size, but it is less mathematical expressions. It's just they're outrageously complicated mathematical expressions that, like, if somebody saw this in their cake making program, they'd have words to say to you. So I want to see someone do this faster. I spent too long on the cake. Basic hourglass is interesting. It was like, hey, you can do cool shapes. But see, like, this is where it's just like, look, you can use fun little inequality things as operators, which is just telling you a thing that basically you'd already know. And it gives us here our like pilot code just to show us kind of what it's doing. Where it's like, oh, if x is greater than z, we get this line. Okay, well, we have to create a symmetrical hourglass based on that. So, if we see that like diagonals happen because of this, and I realize I've solved this, but this is where I would kind of just experiment. Like, I was like, it's probably if one thing's greater than another, and it's going to be like x and y, because z just goes on forever. So we'll say that, and I realize it's going to be like incorrect here probably. But if I go, if x is greater than y, then this is all one color, so we'll just say return 9. Okay, we get part of the shape. The problem here is that, like, we want a thing where it's like, oh, -4 down here to narrow it in, we'd have to do something. So what if I make this the absolute value of y? Now, we've got shape. We've got the shape. It's in the wrong spot. So now if I say, so if I flip the operator, does that change where it's? Nope, it Pac-Mans. I don't. In retrospect, that makes a tremendous amount of sense. That doing the opposite thing gets you the opposite. It gets you the opposite. If you do the opposite, you get the opposite. Let's look at this mathematically. Okay. X here. Oh, the absolute value of y would be greater. Absolute value of y would be greater. Absolute value of y would be greater. Oh, right, because this... Oh, wait, hang on. Let's do that again. This is the entire shape plus extra bits. If I could just create an exception and cut this part out, that would absolutely do it. So if I said, like, this part of the pyramid, if I said, if absolute value of x is greater than y, then return 0. Which part do I end up cutting out if I do this? What if I just say, if x turns 0, no. This is where we science it. Is the value of x greater than absolute value of y? Oh shit, that's really close. Oh, it's not quite. Oh, it's because there's like a little... the pyramid's just slightly off. This is going to be like... What if I say +1? What if I say -1? It's longer than my other code was. So don't... Okay, code size, it's pretty svelte. It's a little bit longer than people have done. What did I do last time? I just did the expression, if the absolute value of y is greater than the absolute value of x, return 9. Yeah, that's fine. Here. If I do this, does this should flip it, right? And 0. Is this faster? No, it's also incorrect. That's also not. Okay. Huh. So this is where I'm starting to think, like, how would I do this faster? And you know what? It's such a simple code. I'm not going to worry about it. Where does that put us? That gives us time. I think we got time for one more. This duck fucking wrecked me. This is where I think we start to get into things where we maybe or maybe I get, like, where I struggle, a personal coding thing. Because, like, a big geometric shape I can think about mathematically. This duck isn't math, it's a duck. Like, I get it, it's math conceptually. But, like, because, you know, there's things that you can see in here in the shape, right? Where it's like, oh, this is kind of a plus that goes back. And I'm like, yeah, that goes back, it's a plus, but then, like, part of it's this color and part of it's this color, and I'm like, I don't know, dog. Is marking that that's a plus really the way to do this? And I get so in my own head. I haven't done the duck. This is a good puzzle for. I've technically done it. I remember that my solution was bad, but this will be a good one to do it. Let's try and get this plus. So things about a plus, is that basically it's things that are one step away from a center point. So I could do that like almost as a distance thing. If I said, what's the code for like, what's the code for distance between 2 points? The formula, I mean, it's not code. All right, so if we want the distance between 2 points, it's the square root of like 0.2 minus 0.1 squared, but like in this case we're starting from an origin of 0, 0. So if I said, let's just express it first. If square root of x to the power of 2 plus y to the power of 2 is less than or equal to 1, then return 1 end. That's a fucking cross. So we've got that. I mean, okay, we have to say, we have to cut it off. Let's get some comments in here too. Oh man, I'm cringe. Duck bod. This is the duck bod. Okay, so this happens from 1 to -2. Which if we go, here, I'll use this to show off. We have documentation on the code. So I can look through and see a bunch of helpful functions, like in range. So to do this, I should say, if in range z, and then it was what? Well, I can fix those after. In range z, and it was like 1, -4. Then, and I say end, and it's gonna freak out on me because I did something wrong. What did I do wrong? No, I didn't do anything wrong. That's a bad range, is the problem. Okay, now we can refine it. It's to -2. There we go. We've created a duck body. So now we need this little L shape up here and the 2 legs, and that's the whole shape. That's the shape. Okay. I think I have an idea. Oh, this is gonna be frustrating. Okay, let's start getting things in here. Duck legs. So these are at 1 and -1, and then they're symmetrical. If absolute value of the absolute value of x equals 1 and in range y and -2, 0, then I can say return 8. Oh no, that's not it at all. Oh, I didn't specify z. And z equals -1. Perfect. Okay. So that's that. Love that for me. But that is the duck legs are just perfect now. Okay. And then we need just this little L up here. Which this I remember I did something upsetting. I don't remember how I did it. But let's get the duck head up here. Okay, so y has to be greater than 2, for sure. Y is greater than 2. And then how would, I mean, you could express this as like a cross with like, you could express this as some funny, horrifying cross. Oh God, am I gonna do this? Am I really gonna do this? It's so bad if I do this. I really want to though. Okay. Do I, oh man. God, this is, those who like good coding should look away at this point. Huh. Well, I did a cursed thing and it didn't even work. Whoops. No. You know what we're gonna do? No. No. We're not going to do the head all at once, is what we're going to do. Here, we're gonna come up here. And we're going to say duck neck. Duck neck. Maybe we'll get the beak in here too. If x is equal to 0 and y greater than -1 and z is equal to 1, then return 11, right? Fuck yeah. Oh God. Christ. I don't know why that was so tough for me. And then, oh wait. And, okay. And then if I want to do x equals 0, y greater than -1, which is still true, then, you know what? I can nest this. Here. I go. Then, oh. And I'm gonna nest another if then in here. If z equals 1, then perfect. And then I can do else if z equals 2 and y equals 2. Then return 9. What'd I do wrong? What'd I do wrong? Unmatched end keyword. This end, because I did an else if, right? Oh, Christ almighty. Oh! Okay, now we just have to get the colors correct. and then we're home free, and we can look at what I did that was better last time, even though I was so embarrassed about it. Okay, duck legs are settled, so it's just here in duckbot, which we've established. Okay, so this is the thing. So we need to do another if statement. And I think what we can do is we can just say, so we're going to tab this over, and I say if y equals -1, then return this gray color, which is 2, and then I say return 15. Oh God! Why was that so tough? Why was that so tough? Hey, oh, well, my code is way smaller than last time. Holy shit. 885 from... Whoa, I did get way smaller. I'm in the top 500. There's 121 pages of people doing this. I've made it very svelte. Reoper, I respect that so much. Is Reoper the fastest? I want to believe that, nope, okay. That was so slow. Who's doing this in 5 cycles? Jesus Christ. And then on the other end, yeah, the most, and if that must, did you hard code it in? I respect it if that's what it is. But we can look at my other code. Okay, what did I say? Right. Oh, okay. So let's go through this code. I remember it, and it is faster. And then this will be the last thing that we do. So I created my own custom function called L-shape, which takes 2 vectors. What is the C? God, I labeled those so funny. Oh, that's the center. That's the center of the L shape. And then the sign, I believe. So, I made this function that just creates an L shape, like a 1x1 L shape. By like, oh, if you're equal the center point of these are the vectors, these are the variables like x and y and z. And if they equal the center, return that, or return one's off the center and one's incremented by 1. And that's how you get the L shape. And I did that as a whole function for that one thing. I could have just written it not as a function, but I was so baffled by the nature of it. Oh God. So I get that center going. Yeah, I did the center and I did the L range. And what is I doing with that? Yeah, do I use it more than once? I sure don't. I established these as the wings. 15 I said was the wings. So yeah, I didn't see that as the bod? I said we were going to go over it. I remember that I did this hell function. So I said, if x is 0, if it's on this center line, I know what I did. I did this as a slice. I'll submit it to continue editing. I did it as a slice. I looked at this center line and made this. It's a square. I made this square. I said if it's the square, this L, if it's that, then I did like the cake. I said if y was -1, do this. And then if it wasn't and z was greater than 0, okay, if it was over here, then return 11. I did a mathematical function to delineate these two, and then else just return this. And then the wings is just the outside, and I made a little L shape. But not an L shape that my L function could do, because that would be useful and helpful. So I didn't do that. And it's so cool. I love coding games so much because this is like, I look at this and I barely I did this and I don't recognize the person that did this, and it's upsetting to me that this was me. But it's faster. It's faster than this was. Than making a plus shape. Like, what? This is why I wanted this project to be kind of a play along at home thing, because this is where I can be like, maybe someone will be watching this in the Creature Time or send it to a friend or something, and like, of course you can beat me. We can submit the score and see that like 100 people have beaten me, and by 100 I mean like over 1,000. So it's not like, oh, I want you to beat me. I want to see the philosophical thing that people that got them there. This game, the developer has said they built it kind of out of their love of coding shaders, and it's part of why I was interested in it. Is like, yeah, I'd love to learn more about shaders, and like, I would love to know. I'd love to see this from the angle of like maybe somebody who codes different. But next time we'll go on to a problem that I like. That duck. Oh, that duck. But I'm excited to perhaps get into some other different things that maybe make more sense to me, maybe don't. But this is, I think, a good example of what I want this to eventually turn into. So thank you all for watching. Next time, I think we might swap over the music. I like the music here, but I think we might switch it up. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, please make that duck better. Make that duck beautiful. Make my ugly duckling a beautiful swan. But it looks the same. It's just the code that's making it is better. And yeah, I'll hope to hear from some people. Help get me out of my place that I'm at with this. So thank y'all. Y'all have a good one. And we'll see y'all in the next one.